Hey girls, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's guest is pretty awesome. She is the multi-talented Randye Kaye. She is today going to talk about her new book, Happier Made Simple, The Power of 3 Words to Change Your Day. And in this discussion, she's going to share her juicy secrets of her 7 momentary mantras so that you can start the ball rolling for better self-talk. Things like, this is good, and little simple phrases that you can frame your day with and every moment of your experiences. So let's go and say hi to Randye. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhite, health coach and personal trainer and founder of highenergygirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Create Whole Body Wellness, a powerful new advancement in energy medicine. Increase your energy, empower your life. I am super excited to announce that I am now a bioenergetics practitioner. And many people are like, well, what is bioenergetics? So imagine that our body is controlled by our energy field, and these fields get distortions and blockages, which create physical and emotional symptoms. So how do we get energy blockages? From stress, toxins, EMFs, emotional traumas, physical scars, and physical traumas. All you need to do is decode the human body field to get to the root cause and restore your energy for life. For more information, head on over to the blog at highenergygirl.com/bioenergetics with an X. That's BIOENERGETIX, and heal your energy for life. Hey, Randye, thanks so much for coming on our show today.
My pleasure.
I am really excited to just chat with you because I know that you're such an interesting person and you have so much to share.
Thank you. It was just a delight to be invited on. I love the concept of high energy, and I think so much flows from that. So,
that's like my big mission. It actually started accidentally, but now I'm studying energetic work, and so it's kind of come to full circle. And it's kind of fun. But I know that you have a lot to offer. And so for the listeners that don't yet know you, why don't you start out by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I would have to say that the thread that runs through all the various ways I've made a living to support my family is helping people share positive energy. So there you go. You and I are meant to be,
Yay!
I think. Yay! I started out, I'm not going to give you my whole life story, but the way the thread ran, and the red thread theory, by the way, is something I learned from Tamsin Webster, who is a speaker who talks about finding the red thread, which is what weavers use to guide their weaving, to keep it kind of on the straight and narrow. So she talks about what is your red thread that has kind of tied all the eclectic parts of your life together. And I love that concept. And I credit Tamsin for teaching it to me. So ever since I heard her speak, I've been thinking about my red thread, and helping people share positive energy is kind of at the heart of everything I've done. I have done everything. I'm a professional theater actress. I have been in an improv group. I have done morning radio. I now am a fill-in talent on our local NPR affiliate, so I am a radio broadcaster. I make my main living from being a voiceover talent, so I've helped to bring words to life. That's kind of the other red thread, if you can have two. I bring to life with my voice and my acting ability the words of others so that it can reach the listener's ear and thereby sharing positive energy. I have also taught communications on the college level and on the middle school level, which is quite similar. And, these days anyway, and I have taught improv and taught acting, and I've written, and I also raised my kids as a single parent without child support. So there was some resilience involved there, and then wrote a book about it, which got published about our particular challenge, and also use public speaking as a way to share positive energy also, not just between me and the audience or the listeners, which you can also do in a podcast, but also encouraging my listeners to share that positive energy with each other. So through all these things, that's a bit about my life in a nutshell.
Wow, that sounds so exciting and so interesting. Just to even do one or two of those things sounds fun. Jeez.
It is fun. I have friends that are retiring, and I'm like, I'm still not sure what I want to be when I grow up. Do I have to pick one? Because I love so many things. So
yeah, that sounds similar. And I love that idea, that concept of the red thread. That is brilliant. I'm going to have to steal it for sure.
it's Tamsin Webster. Steal it from her, not from me. Tamsyn Webster. I am a member of the National Speakers Association. And so we all sort of kind of present to each other and share our ideas with each other. And of course, as you know, a cardinal rule of speaking is you never steal anybody else's material. So I happily credit her with that and share it with you.
Cool. Yeah, I like that idea because, and you know what's kind of a stinker is that there's so many amazing quotes out there, but trying to figure out who was the one who said it first is difficult, you know?
True. Very true. Especially because there's so life is what happens when you're making other plans. Everyone says that was John Lennon, but I really think he got that from somewhere else, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, well,
Not worth to Google right now.
I hope everybody just needs to know that, you know, everything's done in honor. Nobody wants to try to like step on your toes here, you know?
Oh, exactly.
I love it. So we were talking offline and you have three-word mantras, and that is really interesting to me. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Sure. So I have done, as a professional speaker, like you, I like to help and inspire people. And so one of the things I developed to help myself get through a family crisis is little mantras. And I'll tell you why. I'm sure you're well aware as an energy worker of the happiness movement. And if you go to Barnes and Noble or Amazon and you search on how to be happy, I can't tell you how many books are going to come up. And not all of them have been written in the last few years. The goal of trying to be happy goes back to Aristotle and Socrates and, you know, the Greeks and like way back. It's been something that mankind has been striving for a long time. And it's an excellent goal. What I personally found, because I'm kind of a cut to the chase kind of person, is I wondered why the happiness movement to me seemed to be filled with so many unhappy people and so many people who like you watch videos and they're not even laughing, or you look at the books and they're in like a 0.8 font or whatever that little tiny one is, single spaced, and it's 400 words. I kind of don't have time to sit down and read a 400-page book about how to be happy. I don't need that much theory. Just like cut to the chase. It's kind of a, give me the tweet about how to be happy. And so, and also when you do morning radio, which I did for 8 years, you have to cut it down to the core of the matter. I have tried meditation several times in my life, and I am bored after a minute and a half. It's not that I don't like my own company. I just don't want to carve out a half an hour. I recognize that for some people, it's the be all and end all. We're all made of different stuff, and God bless you. Congratulations. You can meditate 30 minutes a day. I am too antsy. Mm-hmm. I'm the person with one eye on the clock in the yoga class. And it's okay to be, and you are who you are. We all try to be sort of a better version of who we are. But I thought about, what is it that helped me that helps anybody I know get through the hard times. And I found that a few things really helped because in my work, words have power. It's called bridging associations in the psychological field. And so words come to represent things. And so the words that you tell someone else or the words that you tell yourself can, in the moment, in 5 seconds, make you happier. And the book I am working on and going to finish and the next to be published is called Happier Made Simple. Change your life 3 words at a time. And notice it doesn't say happiness. It's happier. And that's really the best we can strive for. I don't believe that we are here to just be happy every single second of every single day. Even a baby, pure joy, is not happy every single second of every single day. And so I started to develop 7 little phrases that used in the proper situations and the relative situations kind of just calm me down at the moment and remind me and bring me back to the core of that positive energy. It doesn't solve everything. I didn't earn $1 million in the lottery. I don't, not that that would solve anything, but these are the phrases that keep me happier. And I think, and people that I tell it to, it keeps them happier. It doesn't solve your life. It doesn't make you a movie star. It cannot cure depression, but it can help in the moment. And sometimes that's all we have. So in this lunchtime learning in 1 hour, I presented sort of these simple phrases to latch onto to just get you through the moment. And they spell out the word breathe, breathe, because sometimes that's the first thing you need to do. If you're, I don't know, Tracy, have you ever been in a moment when you just want to tear your hair out? Just checking.
I raised 3 boys. And they were like your daughters. They were a year and a half apart. So I had 3 boys in 3 years. It was insane.
Oh my gosh. So I am a relatively new grandma, and I understand that because my darling daughter has a 3-year-old, a 1.5-year-old, and a 4-month-old, 2 girls and then a boy. And she loves them dearly, and she's a fantastic mother. But I watch her stress level rise. It is a challenge. It certainly is a challenge. And so I hope that in the moments when she wants to tear her hair out. Now, let me just put a little disclaimer in here. These are not phrases you tell someone else, because if you tell someone else, it becomes advice and it can be taken the wrong way. I have friends who are dealing with cancer and chemo right now, and they are doing their best to think positive. But if someone else says to them, oh, just think positive, it becomes almost an insult.
Yeah.
This is self-talk. If you use it on yourself, you become your own hero. So these are not phrases. I mean, I will share them with people, but I'm not going to tell them these things. Oh, be here now. Oh, just think positive. I wouldn't tell it to someone else. This is in the area of communication of self-talk, because then you become your own champion. You become your own hero, and you get the bonus of knowing that within your own self, you found your own energy and you found your own resilience. With that said, all of these things I learned from other people. So it's not that anybody is an island. No one is an island. But when push comes to shove, you are responsible for your own happiness level. And we can't really advise anybody else on how to raise their happiness level by telling them these things. All we can do is kind of drop the idea. And if they choose to use them, it might help. Mm-hmm. So it spells out the word breathe. And I, even though there's 2 E's in it, and you should never have 2 of the same letters in an acronym, but I think that breathing itself is a huge help in moments of stress. Mm-hmm. I think of all my friends who used to smoke and don't, yay. But I think and I never did smoke because my father smoked 4 packs a day and my mother smoked 2 indoors, and my job was to clean the ashtray. So enough said. Oh. But I think one of the perks of smoking is you go outside and you breathe. Sure, you're breathing in toxic fumes. I get that. But smokers I know miss their smoker's break. So I will say at times when I want to blow my stack, and maybe you use this with your 3 boys, if you just, some people say count to 10. I think if you just take one deep breath, and immediately you change your energy. Uh-huh. 3 is even better. And sometimes I will literally go into the stall in the ladies' room and just take 3 deep breaths, or even 1 deep breath. And if you do it silently, no one even knows you're doing it. It buys you time. It gives you oxygen, and it shares your energy with the rest of the room, because you're breathing in their carbon dioxide. You're breathing in the part of their exhales, you're breathing it in. And then when you exhale, your breath becomes part of the universe again. So it's spelled out breathe, and they're all really simple. And so are you ready? Should I start with the first one?
Hey, you go, girl. You're on.
So in the word, in the world of breathe, there's a phrase I use a lot, and I totally stole it. And it's about presence or being. And it's be here now. Mm-hmm. The B of breathe is for being. Just be here now. This is, there are many books written about this. And if you have time to read 400 pages about it, it might be a wonderful experience. But for the purposes of this 3 words, this is just a simple, and I wouldn't recommend you try all of these. Like maybe try one on Monday and try one on Tuesday, 7 3-word mantras to help you, and just notice how it changes you. So be here now is something that you can use if you're vacuuming and you're just thinking about what you're going to do next. If you just take a breath, say, be here now. Notice what that triggers in you. Just notice it. I'm not going to tell you what it will do for you, but what it will do for me if I'm vacuuming is for that moment, I stay in the moment. Mm-hmm. And so I might just love the sound of the dust particles going into the vacuum. Like, I love that sound. Like, oh, look, I'm picking up dirt. So it's just like, be here now. Eckhart Tolle speaks of this a great deal. It's just a little gentle reminder when I'm making the coffee. So I'm a very kind of antsy person. And so this is why I have to use this one a lot, but it centers me. So if I'm making the coffee and it's a process and I'm like, oh, I got to fill the coffee maker, and I don't use a Keurig. So I'm like, then I got to grind the beans because my husband has to have fresh ground beans. And that's something that, fine, that works for me too. But if he goes out of town for 2 weeks, I buy ground coffee. But, then there's the beans, and then there's measuring them. And I'm impatient. I want that cup of coffee. That is not being here now. That is being in the future. And just notice what it does to your energy, makes you kind of antsy. And so if I say, be here now, what happens to me in that moment is, wow, how lucky I am that I turn the faucet on and actual water comes out.
Yeah.
And the water is, I don't live in Flint, Michigan, and I can drink this water. And it just triggers those fleeting thoughts that trigger gratitude just by staying in the moment. When I grind the beans, be here now. Sometimes for a moment, I think of a trip to Jamaica I took, and the coffee plantation and the life of the people who grow these beans, and just, staying in the moment. And I sometimes think about what a tea ceremony is like. A tea ceremony in Japan is all about being in the moment. The antsy part of me is like, what? Take an hour to pour a cup of tea? That's ridiculous. but it's, it's all about for them. And it's just even appreciating that experience, which, by the way, I've only seen on television, but I get it. It's just like, it's about staying in the moment and living in the moment. And so be here now can just bring you back. There have been happiness studies done, and there are many TED Talks about it, where all they did was, through the use of an app, randomly text people to find out what they're thinking about and then test their happiness level. And the common denominator of happiness are the people who were presently in the moment. Mm. Those who were thinking about stuff that happened or stuff that might happen, especially in an anxious way, it drew them away from the moment. And that was the biggest common denominator of not being happy. So be here now is something I use to remind myself to be present. Now, I will add to that another 3-word mantra that sometimes I use, because not all moments are great. I went this morning to help my daughter get 3 kids into the car. I'm privileged to be able to help her because I only live 3 miles away and I freelance for a living. And so most days I'm able to give her some of my time and hug the kids. There are moments when she doesn't really want to be in the moment. So I'm sure you remember this one's crying and it started the other one crying, and then the baby's diaper is dirty and he just spit up on the pillow. And it's kind of just described my daughter's morning. And, in that case, be here now may not work. Yeah. Maybe in that case, just for now. is the
Oh.
3-word phrase that would help her. Just for now, I'm going to get through this. Just for now. And you as you get used to these 3-word phrases, you find the one that you notice just calms you down. Again, happiness gurus are like, the goal is to live in the moment every single second. Well, not always.
Not if it
Um,
sucks.
right, not if it sucks. Exactly. So sometimes if you go, and this is coming off of these 3 words, but if you go back in time to a happy memory. And for that moment. And if you're going to go forward in time, look forward to something. Don't look forward in anxiety. So, especially if it's something that might not happen. So, we have to look forward and we have to look back. I'm working with my 3-year-old granddaughter about think what might happen, because if you leave this on the counter, what might happen? You have to think in the future sometimes, or we don't have goals and dreams, but too many of us are lost in the anxiety of the future or the past, and then we can't live in the moment. So be here now is a way to be present when it's something that will work for you. And maybe you're only going to be here now for another split second, but it can trigger a lot of positive energy. So that's the be and breathe.
Yeah, that's good. And I like that other one, just for now, just to get you through the bumps and the lumps of the bumps in the road.
Yeah, yeah, because, again, we are such human beings are so complicated and yet in a way so simple. We just want joy. And I believe we are, in Anne Frank's words, truly good at heart, most of us. And we just need gentle reminders from each other or from ourselves, inspired by each other, to make our lives just that little bit better. That's all. It's never going to be a perfect life. Everybody I know who I ever thought had a perfect life doesn't and didn't. So
Yeah, you just don't know the secrets that it's like they call it fake book, right? Everybody puts the highlight reel on it and nobody puts the crap.
exactly. Or if they do, I put crap up sometimes, but it's only if it's going to make someone else laugh. And honestly, and we can get to this in a second, but I don't believe in New Year's resolutions, but I do believe in a New Year's focus to try, and less social media, more social gathering is kind of my focus for this year. Getting together with people in person more. And I've taken the Facebook app off my phone. I can still get to it if I need to, but social media is a whole other topic. But it's yeah, and you do end up feeling bad about yourself. So it's kind of noticing what it does to you. So yeah.
That is so true, Randye. Like, you see other people, oh, they went ice skating. Oh, they did this, they did that. And I'm just staying home all the time. Like, you feel like you're less than, that's.
Yeah. You know how, and we digress, but we said we'd let this conversation flow.
Yeah.
When I was a little girl, the joke was, oh, we went to so-and-so's house and they made us watch a slideshow of their vacation. Or the other joke was, oh, here come the Christmas cards. Here comes the letter of how perfect their life is. And so that's Facebook.
Yeah, that's true.
That is Facebook. And, to a T, if all people are posting is, like you say, the highlight reel, we're forced to watch other people's vacation pictures, and not forced to. We can always unfollow or not go on. But that's what it feels like to me sometimes. It's like, oh, and look, if I love somebody, I mean, my nephew just had a new baby. He and his wife just had a new baby. I want to see those pictures. But in the people I know marginally who post a great deal about their acting careers and what they just finished, I don't brag on Facebook. At least I hope I don't. I don't believe in that, because it's just, I don't know. I like in person better. But anyway, I'm not trying to judge. I'm just saying that if I'm on Facebook, I have to put a perspective on it. And the perspective is, to me, it's my water cooler. So if I want to go on Facebook and scroll through the feed of people I'm not really sure who they are, and that entertains me, then that's okay. But if it starts to make me feel bad about my life, I'm shutting it down.
Yeah. That's a good thing to say. And I really like what you just said. Less social media, more social gatherings. And this year, it was just crazy because I finally opened myself up to that possibility. Actually, at the end of last year, I'm like, I need a social life again because I've been just working too much. And it was crazy because I reconnected accidentally. Clearly it was just part of, like the universe intention, but I reconnected with both girls from high school and the moms, like the moms group from the kids, like grammar school, and a group of girls from my 6th grade class. How crazy is that?
You did that in person or?
Yeah. Yeah. So we now
Awesome.
have so now we're getting together regularly with all 3 of those groups. So what the message to me is, when we open ourselves up for possibilities and we declare that this is something we want to attract into our lives, like I need to, start being social again and just see what happens.
That is so awesome. I do a workshop called Toss and Dare, and I just reserved the domain name, but don't go there. I haven't made the website yet. But
Okay.
a lot of my friends are organizational experts, and I'm not, but I am. I'm kind of a tidy person. Like, I'm the grandma that has to find all the pieces to the puzzle before I put the puzzle away, whereas the other grandma just like, let me get it off the floor. And so I have pieces of me that are organized. And yes, I do own a labeler, but I don't use it all the time because I'm also antsy. But I do believe, and this is the crux of my workshop, is, and this is a phrase I heard and stole, and I don't know where I heard it. So whoever invented it, please step up. But create order and you create space. So I believe that to be true. But the next 2 I added, and it's right in line with what you were saying: create space and you create possibility. And if you toss things away, an old book you're never going to read again, to an idea that you have to be a millionaire, whatever you're tossing, you decide what you're going to toss intentionally or what life is making you toss. And that there's kind of a difference. But when you create space, then you create possibility. Something's going to come in. And that's where intention comes in line with what you said, because create possibility, and you have to have the courage to dare. And how do you dare? You make a goal, or you have a dream, either way, but it doesn't become a goal until you do the 4th step, which is take 1 step. Ooh. If you don't take a step, it's a dream. If you take a step, it can become a goal. If after that, and then it's rinse and repeat, because if you take a step toward that goal, you may go, oh, wow, I'm a little closer there and I don't really want it anymore. Like when I was doing morning radio in Connecticut, I got an invitation to interview to do radio in New York. And I thought I really wanted that. And so I went in for the interview. My kids were young at the time, maybe 6 and 8. And I went in for the interview all excited. And all during the interview, I'm like, I don't really want to be in New York. I live in Connecticut, by the way. So it'd be an hour. It's an hour and 10 on the train, but add in the commuting, it's 2 hours each way. And I found myself going, oh, this would mean I'd be an hour and a half away from my children should anything happen. And taking that 1 step toward that, what I thought was a goal, gave me a clearer view, and it made me know I didn't want it. So that's when you rinse and repeat. I'm like, oh, I don't want that kind of, I don't want that right now, because it's all about life balance. So, so when you toss things and then you focus and you take a step, then these dreams can become a goal that you dare to take a step toward and see what happens. So
interesting. I guess that could go for anything. It could go for tangible things as well as untangible things. Like,
sure.
Like I was just watching a new show on Netflix and they were talking about cleaning out your closets and your drawers and all that.
The life-changing magic of tidying up. Yes.
Okay. I don't know what it was called, but somebody posted it on Facebook and I'm like, oh, I got to check it out because we have a big house and when we moved in, it was empty and now it's overflowing. So, I'm in that space in my life. Right. And
yeah.
So, so I'm looking at that as physical things, tangible things, but then also like maybe there's habits that need to be tossed, or maybe there's friends and old acquaintances that need to be tossed just to open up that energy and space for joy.
Exactly. Or beliefs.
Or what?
Beliefs.
Oh,
something you
yeah.
believe. You have to toss a belief. Like, I was 16 years between husbands. And at some point in that, which I call relationship high school, because I learned all the things I should have learned in high school about how to pick a man, or how to love myself,
Oh,
but
yeah.
um, part of that journey was letting go, tossing the belief that my life is incomplete without a man. I had to
Yeah.
toss that belief to get a step closer to true self-esteem. So, yeah, tossing out a belief about yourself. When my older son developed schizophrenia, which is, probably that's what my memoir, Ben Behind His Voices, is about. That was probably my biggest proving ground for resilience. It's devastating when your child gets ill, and when it's a mental illness, that's a whole other layer of stigma and loss. Not to compare anybody's misery to anybody else's, but 1 in 4 families deals with mental illness, and it's it's sort of a crusade of mine to honor all those families dealing with it and push for more help. So when my son developed that, I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. Oh yes, I had to toss the belief that I'm only as happy as my happiest child, as my unhappiest child. I'm only as this is a parenting thing you hear.
Yeah.
It's like, if your kids aren't happy, you can't be happy. Or if my kids are healthy, then everything's okay. Well, one of my kids isn't healthy, and I still had to find a way to be okay. I still had to find a way to toss the belief that his illness is a result of my parenting, which it isn't, and toss the belief that if one of my kids is unhappy, I'm a bad parent, or, so there are beliefs that you need to toss as well. So, and that drew me to a place where I could take more actions to deal with the R and breathe, which is reality. So I guess I don't want to leave your audience hanging with what are the 7 things in breathe. So, but that is something. Reality, the 3-word phrase is, it just is, which is a shortened version of it is what it is. But I had, in line with consistency, I'm trying to make everything 3 words. And that I found remarkably, and do find remarkably comforting.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. My son has serious illness. Do I like it? No. Do I accept it? I have no choice but to accept it. It doesn't mean I approve of it, but it just is. Because that leads to, now what? Yes, he does have this illness. Now what are we going to do? How are we going to handle it? So we always can strive for more, but we have to have a grip. I'll say have to. I hate that word. It helps to have a grip on reality. And what this does for me is get me away from but it isn't fair. Why did it happen to me? Why can't it be? It should be different. When I find myself going to the shoulds of what life owes me, I go back and go, it is what it is. It just is.
Yeah.
It just is.
That, I think, is really helpful, because so often we ask ourselves, why did this happen?
Right.
And then we tend to have self-blame and think that it, like you said earlier, it's our fault, when most of the time it's not.
Right.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And it's, it's a little trigger phrase that reminds me that there's a way forward, but I'm not going to take the way forward if I'm stuck in the whys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why my son develops schizophrenia. I don't know. I don't know why. I'm not, you know what? I don't know if there's a plan, and I believe there is one sort of a plan somewhere, but I also think none of us can truly understand it, although we try, and there's value in trying to understand it. But we believe what comforts us. And so in the scheme of the universe, was it important that my son gets schizophrenia? I don't know. I don't know. That's a good 3-word phrase. I don't know. It just is.
Yeah.
And now what? What am I going to do about it? What can I do about it? And then the serenity prayer of what you can and can't change comes in. So the R is for reality. It just is. And bear in mind that it may take time to get to that place of accepting. Because one of the, excuse me, sip of water here. Hold on. One of the concepts in my book is about processing time. You can't, if you if a tragedy happens, you can't immediately jump to, oh, it is what it is. My house burned down. Oh, it just is. Like, that the bigger the challenge, it needs processing time.
Yeah.
And so, you can't, okay, fax machine, I'm dating myself. The printer broke, my phone screen shattered. You need processing time, and a little bit of processing time for a little challenge and a lot for a big challenge. So and sometimes even now, although my son has had this illness for 20 years, I'm in a pretty good place about it most of the time. We have done what we can, and he's doing really well considering. And could it change tomorrow? It could, but be here now. Today's a good day. So, but sometimes grief will hit you. Anyone who's ever grieved anybody knows that grief doesn't come on a planned schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And so you think you're fine, and then you see a color that reminds you of that person and you start to cry and you don't know why. Or for me, if I drive, the radio station where I work sometimes is on a college campus, and occasionally I'll drive onto campus and see the college orientation team, doing a tour, and I'll start to cry because my son never got the chance to go to college.
Aww.
Did I know I was going to cry? No. So I allow myself to process it and feel it. And then I go, okay, I had a little pity party. I needed it. Now it just is. And then I can move forward. So all of these things are not magical, but they can be in the right moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why you have 7 of them, because if one doesn't work for the moment, you have another one, right?
Exactly. So you know what? I think I don't know how much more time we have, and I don't want to leave you without naming all 7. So
aren't they going to be in your book?
They are.
Okay.
They are.
So tell me about, where do you teach your workshop? I'm curious about that.
Well, I have done it locally in Connecticut. And I am thinking about doing an online version now. Less social media, more social gathering. I think it's more valuable in person.
Mm-hmm.
But I am toying with the idea of an online gathering community, including seeing each other's faces, and doing it as maybe a 6-week workshop. So that is something that I'm working toward.
Here's an idea. I don't know how you feel about this, but what if you did an online workshop with the possibility of the attendees creating a grassroots one that they can actually take and do? Kind of like, I always say, like, give a man a fish. This is one of my little commercials. Like, give a woman a fish, feed her for a day. Teach a woman to fish, feed her for a lifetime. Teach a woman to teach a woman to fish, end world hunger. I don't know. To me, it's all about spreading as quickly as possible, and just teaching people how to do what you do so that they can spread it to their circle of influence.
That's certainly an excellent goal for spreading the message. It's something that I think I have to do step 1 before I can think about step 2.
Yeah, sure.
But it can be, and that's the thing with dreams. See, dreams can inspire you. Yeah. But if you don't take a step, it remains a dream. And so there's a difference between a dream and a goal. One of the things I did to support my kids when my husband abandoned the family when they were 3 and 5 was I was on the radio, but I was also doing voiceover and doing acting, but I needed something a little more steady. And I became a Weight Watchers leader for about 8 years. And the company, it was a great thing, and I really enjoyed helping people. And so I think about weight loss in that you can have a dream to lose 50 pounds. And when you're 50 pounds overweight, that dream might comfort you. But if it's not a goal and you're not taking the risk to take one step toward it, goals are riskier. You can work in your widget factory dreaming of becoming a star, and that might comfort you in the moment. But if you're not working toward it, it's only going to remain a dream. If it becomes a goal, like I have a friend who wanted to learn to sing cabaret, and we did the Toss and Dare workshop, and she said, well, you know what? I don't know if I'm ever going to be a cabaret star. I'm not even sure I want that, but I'd like to learn to sing. And I said, well, what's your one step? And she said, I'm going to sign up for this class I heard about. And she signed up for the class, and she loves it. And she has performed with the class 3 times already. So,
Ah.
is she going to be the next, Linda Etter? No, I don't think so. I don't even think she wants that. But she took a step toward her dream, and it then became a goal. And the goal takes shape as you take steps toward it.
Mm.
As you take a step toward, like with my radio, my goal took shape. I do want to be full-time radio, but I don't want to do it in New York. I don't want to be far from my children. So every step takes you closer to seeing that goal and deciding if you want to take another step. That's why you take stock and rinse and repeat. So I'll tell you what, because I know we can't dive into each of these. I will just finish spelling out the word breathe. And people, so that at least you have that sense of completion. So the E is for empathy, and the phrase is, how about you?
Mm-hmm.
And which of course encourages community as well. And this is where I talk about less social media, more social gathering. The A is for appreciation. And this is where, because you mentioned this as something that struck you, just walking into a room and saying, this is good. And I have to, or I love this is even stronger. I love this.
Yeah.
Words are powerful. They're so powerful because we connect so many things with them. When my granddaughter says, oh, silly grandma, I love it because I taught her the word silly. If she makes a mistake, I go, oh, silly Evie. And it's partly the tone of voice, but it's also the words. If I went, oh, stupid Evie, that would be completely different.
Yeah.
If she called me stupid grandma,
Oh.
okay, so you get what I'm saying. Like, words have power, and words are created out of feeling. There's a reason the word click sounds like a click and the word smooth sounds smooth, because whatever the language, words are created out of the feelings and the sounds that we hear. So even silly has a softer, sweeter sound than stupid.
Mm.
So words do matter even when we tell ourselves. In this world of being bombarded with messages that were not good enough from every single magazine cover we encounter, to even, God bless it, the tidy up shows, the home shopping network, Better Homes and Gardens. Your home's not good enough. You're not good enough. Your dress is outdated. There's so many messages that we're not good enough because people want to sell us things. And that begins, I also do media awareness things, because we have to hear our own messages. So if I walk into my little tiny bathroom, I have an old colonial, 4 bedrooms, 1 tiny bathroom, no master bedrooms, ensuite. Oh my God, my life is not perfect. I have one little bathroom, and it's got wallpaper that I love that's peeling, and I know wallpaper's outdated. And partly I walk in that room and I go, oh, I need to change the wallpaper. But if I walk in that room and go, I love this, because I do, it's got a border that's got forests on it, and I like it. So if I say this is good, and I'm not saying I'll never take the wallpaper down, but right now it makes my day better. So just saying this is good, I love this. That first sip of coffee in the morning, just saying I love this or this is good, it reminds you of appreciation.
Yeah.
I know people are like gratitude lists, blah, 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 blah. How many people do you know that kept one for 2 or 3 days and then they have a blank notebook sitting on their bedside, another thing they didn't get around to? So I again, if you keep a gratitude list and it works for you, God bless you. I'm too antsy. So I just try to tell myself the words. I try to live good moments as a little prayer, if you will, to just, rather than at the end of the day, make a list of what I'm grateful for. If I'm out in my backyard and the sun is shining, just take a breath and say that 3 words, this is good, or I love this. And that helps make that moment better.
Yeah. And you appreciate life and you experience it better. So you get out of your head and you get into the world.
Right. And just for that moment. And what is a day but a bunch of moments, good ones and bad ones. So you try to, and the moments that are on the fence, you try to push them over to the good side. That's all. And, let's be real. We're not perfect. We're never going to be happy every second of every day. I'm suspicious of people who are. So the T is for trust, which is things work out. Also take one step. Trust that one step. H, I mean, well, there's no H. Yes, there is an H in breathe, which is for humor. I almost forgot what the H was for. Eight, listen, as a morning radio personality, I will tell you this little tiny story. You learn that silly stuff that happens in your life, even if it seems stupid at the time, is going to be funny the next day. I'm not talking about major grief things. I never really, but it could be, you're on your way to the wedding and your heel breaks, or, when you're on the morning radio or you're a comedian, and I'm not a stand-up comedian, but I do consider myself a humorist after so many years on morning radio, because it's just how I look at life. I would find myself going, oh, this is going to be funny tomorrow on the air. And so I thought, well, if it's going to be funny tomorrow, it may as well be funny now. Yeah. And so if I'm watching my grandkids and the older one starts crying and the middle one feeds off of her and she starts crying and baby starts crying, there's a part of me that wants to blow my top, and then I breathe and I go, here's my 3-word phrase. Isn't this interesting? Isn't this interesting? And, then it opens up curiosity. Or sometimes if I'm mad at myself for doing something silly, I go, isn't that adorable? Because often things that other people do, we find adorable if they're kind of cute and flawed. But if we do it, we kick ourselves.
Yeah,
so
isn't that weird?
What?
That is weird that we feel that way, right?
Yep. I'll tell you a huge part of my relationship high school in discovering that I'm worth loving is a magazine article I read somewhere that said, so I don't hate all magazines, obviously, but this stuck with me. It said, if you were in love with a guy and you checked out his show, we went snooping in his bathroom, and you noticed that he had like 6 different kinds of shampoo and all of them were only half used, you would think, oh, isn't that cute? And yet in our own shower, if we do that, we tend to go, oh, why can't I make a decision? What is wrong with me? So if we can turn it around and go, isn't that adorable? And if you can't get to adorable, because it's not always appropriate, you just go, isn't that interesting? I'm supposed to be, I've eaten all my points on Weight Watchers today, and I just had a brownie. Isn't that interesting? And what that does is just lead you to humor and lead you to maybe understanding it and lead you to maybe gently changing what you did. So the H for humor, isn't that interesting, is my trigger phrase. What it does is give you perspective. And the last E is for esteem. Mm-hmm. And that's trusting yourself. The longer phrase I've used in times of crisis is, whatever happens, I'll handle it somehow. But the 3-word version of that is, I'll manage somehow, or I always survive.
Oh, I love that one.
I always survive. And I use this, when the cookie crumbles, and you talk about resilience a lot, this is a quote that I'm just reading off of a PowerPoint that I did when I did this Lunch and Learn workshop. Resilient people believe that failures will happen, but you can always try again. And that's from somebody named G. Valiant, Aging Well, Surprising Guideposts to a Happier Life. So I don't even know what that book is, but I found it somewhere and liked it. So these are the 7. B for being, be here now. R for reality, it just is. E for empathy, how about you? A for appreciation, this is good, or I love this, or I get to. If you find yourself going, I have to go to the gym, just substitute get to. I get to go to the gym, and see what other thoughts that opens up. Trust, things work out, or take one step. Humor, isn't that interesting? And esteem, I always survive, or I'll manage somehow, or I'll handle it.
Wow.
So those are my 7 3-word mantras. And one of my goals in creating this book is to make these things approachable, humorous, and simple.
I cannot wait to read your book. I love humor.
Thank you.
Seriously, that's awesome.
And I'll use big fonts so it doesn't look overwhelming to read it.
Yes, that is so true, because I love to read and I pick up books that look like, I'm learning how to be a yoga teacher. And the yoga book is like so just unappealing with the little fonts. It's really, really thick. And I can't even start reading the book.
It's like, yeah, get to the point. And I read audiobooks for a partial living. I have, I think, 97 titles on Audible right now. And so I get to bring the words to life of other authors. And some books I'm like, wow, this is really well written. And they're all well written. I'm not dissing any of my authors, but some of them are a bit too wordy. I think I can say that. And I'm not saying which ones, but it's just like, and of course I can't skim when I'm reading words out loud, and I want to honor every single word, because having written a book, I know that they sat and agonized and chose and worked to share positive energy in their own way and make their point. But I look at a lot of these books, and not just the ones I've narrated, and it's just for a few of them that I felt that way when reading it. But when I go to the bookshelf and I go, oh, here's a happier book, there are not too many about happier, but happiness. And I pick it up and I put it right back on. Font's too small. I'll never get through this. The vast majority of Americans, when they buy a self-help book, do one of two things. They put it on the shelf and say, I'll read it later. Or they read 1.5 chapters and put it on the shelf and say, I'll finish it later.
Ooh. That's actually pretty true. I started a little book club in my Facebook group so that I can be accountable to not doing that anymore.
Try narrating it. You definitely have to read all the chapters. So that's one of the things I love about what I do, is I really get to get the author's full point, because I do get to read all the chapters and I see why they wrote it the way they did. But with a lot of self-help books, it is, finishing the book. Because it's kind of like, I get it. And I want to write a book where you can turn to any chapter and just read that chapter real quickly. So anyway,
so that
those are things that help me. I hope they help your listeners.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. So where can the listeners find you, Randye?
So my eclectic career is mostly on my website, which is randyekaye.com. I'll spell my name because, like yours, it's not the usual spelling. It's RandyeKaye. So the website is randyekaye.com, and that'll lead you to the homepage where you can see my voiceover career, my acting, my author, and my speaker sections of my life. I also have a website just for the book, which is called benbehindhisvoices.com.
And that's the original book you first wrote, correct?
Yes, that is the book I wrote about. It's a memoir, or you can find it on Amazon as well. I also did the audiobook for that, which was nominated for a Listen Up Award by Publishers Weekly. So I'm very proud of that. So if you are dealing with mental illness issues in your family, I hope that that's helpful to you. It's a memoir, but it's got guideposts in sidebars as you go. So benbehindhisvoices.com. So there is a website just for that with links to my interviews and so forth. And you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook, but I don't post a lot. So...
Well, we'll put links to all of those different things in the show notes.
Awesome.
So people can find you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure. It's so fun to get to know a true high energy girl.
Thank you.
Wow, wasn't that awesome? I learned so much from her, and what a talented woman she is. For complete show notes and for links to Randye's sites, please head on over to highenergygirl.com/show. Thank you so much for listening, and go out and make it a great day, girls. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.